Welcome back to the Breaker Bros, and this is our instant reaction to the Bengals 30-24 victory over the Broncos. And what a crazy game!
Yeah,
um,
it's wild.
it's probably one of those games where it shouldn't have been as close as what it was. It seemed like there was a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the day, they won, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing that matters. And it was almost to the point where, especially at the end of the game, I thought they were just going to try to run out the clock. But
For the the Broncos, you mean for the
yeah,
tie?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that.
I mean, I think they tried to like play conservative, but I mean, shout out to the defense. They kind of let up in the second half, but overall they played the way they need to play, especially if somehow they sneak into the playoffs. With this victory,
Sneak in.
well, I mean,
Sneak
tomorrow's going to be really interesting because Richardson's out for the Colts.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Okay.
So that means Flacco's going to be in, and then Tua is doubtful, I think, for Miami.
Yeah.
So Sunday's going to be a lot more interesting.
But I mean, isn't it Flacco's? I mean, might be an upgrade.
Yeah, but the way they use Richardson, I don't think teams have really figured out because he's really good at running with the ball. Like he's almost like a fullback. He's like so huge, and like he just is really effective in the red zone running it. So I mean, yeah, I think maybe from a passing perspective, they might be an upgrade, but I mean, in terms of avoiding the rush, or I don't know. Like I think it helps because it's late in the year, and if Flacco was really like the better quarterback, he would have been starting this year, right? I mean, at one point he did take over, but then they gave it back to Richardson. So
Well, I mean, I think it's more than just who the better quarterback is. I think age plays a lot into it.
yeah, but I mean, back to the Bengals game. If you're like reflecting on it, just a lot of mistakes because it felt like there was a lot of drops in the first half, and it's just like
drops, fumbles,
and probably
Doinks.
that was in the second half, the fumble. But
first half, you mean? Isolate the mistakes to the first half.
well, I felt like they should have took the field goal early on.
Yeah.
And then
I mean,
on that second drive, I feel like
about
on the goal line, technically, I think Chase should have caught that pass. So, like, to me, that should have probably been a touchdown. But they end up going because then they didn't convert after that, I think, right? On the fourth down.
right.
But yeah, it was like stuff like that. A lot of mistakes early that kind of kept the game close. But I mean, all throughout the game, it just seemed like they were moving the ball at will. The Bengals, because I don't think they punted
until they got into short yardage, and then they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing. Chase Brown got hurt, which sucks. But then,
because he got hurt trying to like run the clock out, and then because he got hurt, they didn't stop the clock.
Yeah, because the Bengals had to call the timeout.
Right.
I mean,
crazy.
he did what he was probably supposed to do because I mean, if he didn't get hurt, they would have used the timeout. And
I don't know, man. I feel like you just play football, like overthinking it in that situation. Like I get it if like, you're up already and like the defense picks the ball and instead of housing it, you take a dive. But like when you're not winning yet, to me, just score the touchdown. And I think when you don't play like you've been trained your entire life to play, I think you open yourself up to weird injuries. And I feel like you got to play through it. I just don't believe in giving yourself up. I mean, I'm only in like the rare instances where it's like the game is for sure over and all you have to do is down it, then yeah. But to me, no matter outside of those situations, I would score. You just got to score.
Yeah, and overall, like looking at the box score, like Burrow had 412 yards, 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing. Like the way he performed, especially in this game, like he's got to get MVP consideration, especially if they make the playoffs, the Bengals.
Well, if they make the playoffs, yeah. If they don't make the playoffs, then probably not.
Because don't get me wrong, like Lamar is having a career year and he's doing great, but I think last year proved that like if you're not ahead statistically in every category, then you kind of have to give it to the person that has the better record and better overall statistics. So like To me, it should go to Josh Allen. If it doesn't go to, I mean, to me, if you're just basing it off quarterback performance, then it has to go to Burrow. I mean, look at his stats. I mean, 412 yards, like, and then at the end of the game, like he just shut it out. That touchdown to T after that incredible catch on the sidelines. Just way to close it out.
Yeah, I mean, so I like to complain about the refs, and I like to yell collusion and cheating. And I feel like the Broncos fans probably feel like they got jobbed in this game because I feel like there were a lot of questionable calls.
Do you think that was a catch at the end of the regulation?
No. Well, wait, the touchdown, yes. The one going out of bounds, I don't think so.
You don't think that was a touchdown?
I thought it was a touchdown. I didn't think
okay.
catch going out of bounds was a like the long pass. I didn't think he actually had possession.
You're talking about to Higgins?
Yeah, to Higgins. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about?
Well, we kind of talked about two different things. I mentioned
I was
Higgins.
Confused. My bad.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
No. Well, to me, yeah. I mean, by definition, because like when he was starting the catch, he still had his toe on the ground, and then he got his other foot in before he slid out. So, like to me, it was a catch. The only thing that was questionable.
As soon as you touch the ball, then it's considered you have possession. That's when you start the clock.
Well, that's the start of the catch, right? Like you.
I don't know. I'll defer to you, but that was one instance. I just feel like there were a lot of weird penalties and weird strings of penalties, and the motive, right? Like if you're doing mysteries, right, you have to have a motive.
Well, since we're kind of talking about this right now, this is what doesn't make sense about the whole catching rule, because like say if it's inbounds, right, you got to get the 2 feet in, and then you got to make a football move to complete a catch. But then when you get to the sidelines, it gets all weird where like as long as you get 2 feet in or 2 toes or whatever, and then you slide out, and as long as you hold on to the ball, it's considered the catch. Like, isn't that weird? Like, don't like in one situation you got to make a football move, but the other one you just got to complete the catch. Like, there's no real consistency. So like,
right. I mean, to me, the NFL rule book is needlessly complicated.
Right.
I prefer the college rule for a catch because I think, I mean, they want more offense, right? You want less judgment calls. Just make it 1 foot. That's a catch. Boom, done, right? And then on the flip side with the fumble, same thing. If you possess the ball 1 step and then you drop it, that's a fumble, right? So it kind of cuts both ways, but at least you get some consistency. This whole like football, the concept of a football move is like just a word salad, barring from the political genre, but it doesn't mean anything, right? It's just a judgment call. Does the ref think he had it or not? Which is kind of dumb, right? It should be like consistent, something programmable that you could get like AI or machine language to consistently get you the right answer. Like, does AI know what a football move is, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, all good points, but I guess another little thing.
I appreciate that.
Just kind of shifting back to the game. I think the Bengals gave up 6 sacks on the offensive line. So it's like
7.
It could be 7. That would not shock me. So it feels like, knock on wood, the defense has kind of solidified it. It feels like they're playing like middle of the pack.
Way more athletic. Like I thought, like that sack by Cedric Johnson, where it was kind of a hustle sack because he ran across the field. I think having that athleticism helps, But yeah, I mean, I feel like they were able to get some pressure.
Well, they got that turnover, and I think they knocked the ball loose a couple of times and weren't fortunate enough to get the ball. But it's like they're playing good enough, right? Mm-hmm. But then now it seems like the biggest obstacle right now is going to be their offensive line and what they do with that. And hopefully Mims can get back in, because it feels like if we can play the majority of who we consider the starters, then they can play decent enough. But that's scary. I mean, don't get me wrong.
The offensive line looked really good, which was
like Denver's
bizarre to me.
Defense
that they gave up
defensive rush is the best in the league. But I mean, come on.
Yeah,
like,
but the first half they were doing great, and then it felt like the majority of the sacks of Burrow happened in the second half.
Oh, and then I guess this goes out to Duke Tobin. I mean, come on, like what happened to our screen game? I mean, I don't think it's ever really that effective, but I mean, with teams
Duke
knowing that,
Tobin?
is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we just feel like he kind of secretly watches our
Well,
stream or
no, I
whatever. But
mean, obviously it's not him, right? It's
well, I
his
mean,
burner
he could.
account.
We just feel like he's listening to us. So if you could just
Gotcha.
pass along the information or
Yeah,
the,
well, just letting everybody know.
but just screens. I mean, I just feel like there's ways we can implement some creative screens and get some
Mhm.
big plays just with, especially in the second half, because it feels like they've been doing really well with like the scripted plays starting off and doing
Mhm.
that. But then when the game wears on and people get tired or hurt throughout the game, like it just seems like the other team's defense get home way more in the second half, right? So it's just like do some screens, like make them play honest and
Yeah. Well, I think that to me that's part of the short yardage issue is that for how great the stats look and how many points the offense can put up, they feel like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, like they just can't run it for a first down. Like they have to trick people or do weird,
I will say this,
wavy motions.
and it could just been he had fresh legs, but when Herbert came in towards the end of the game, he looked pretty good, and I kind of like the way he runs. He's just more of like a traditional, I guess, running back, or what you're looking for, or I guess what we're used to. But don't get me wrong, like I hope Chase Brown comes back and hopefully he can play next week
Yeah,
because
well, no,
he's
I
very
like Chase
dynamic.
Brown a lot, and
But
that goes to the coaching, right? Like if you got a guy that can do it, then why is he not in to do it?
well, I guess another thing people haven't really talked about Chase Brown,
Mhm.
his pass blocking has actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's like, so you can run with him, you can pass it out of the backfield. I just think he makes things way more dynamic. It makes the other team guess a little bit more, and
Yeah.
that's why he's been getting a lot of these like
But
plays.
and to be clear, I don't think it's a Chase Brown issue not being
No,
able
no,
to
no.
convert on third
No, I
and short.
agree because it's like Herbert.
Scheme, play calling,
But then again,
blocker
like you don't
kinda
want to be
thing.
too predictable though, because like they're gonna get to the point where
Sometimes you have to be able to do it when
well,
they
you just
know
gotta
you're gonna
win,
do
right?
it.
Just gotta win the
Yeah,
play.
yeah. Because I mean, when other teams convert 3rd and 1, we know they're gonna do it, and they just run right through the defense, right?
Hey, shout out to Mike Gesicki. He had 10 catches, 86 yards. T. Higgins, 11 catches, 131 yards, and the 3 TDs.
Yeah,
Obviously,
those are good.
yeah. I mean, between him and Burrow, I mean, players of the game, right? Like, obviously,
Yeah.
he had that fumble, which is unfortunate, but I think he made up for it. I mean, in reality, like he shouldn't have had that 3rd touchdown because the kicker's got to make that field goal. I mean, that's should be a layup for an NFL kicker.
He's not an NFL kicker.
I mean, he's good enough to be on an NFL squad. So I mean, if you're that
Define
level,
good enough.
well, in the situation where there's enough people hurt throughout the year, where like he may be definitely not the top 32 kickers, but he might be top 45.
I don't think so. I don't think he's playable.
I just think there's a lot of kickers that are hurt this year, and
I mean, is Morton Anderson doing anything? I mean, get a guy that can kick 35-yard field goals. You don't need a guy.
Ochocinco.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying, like, the Bengals seem to skew towards like the freak athlete, right? And when you're looking for like a guy just to come in and play some games, I think you need to skew towards the guy that like maybe can do it but can't kick like the 50-yarders, because you got to be able to kick a 35-yard field goal.
And I would even say Yosavash has stepped up the last couple of weeks. Even this game, he had some big receptions. I mean, overall, I mean, Burrow was just cutting them up throughout the game. It was just early on, they just couldn't find ways to finish. And like, had they scored 2 out of 3 of those early on possessions, I mean, this game wouldn't have been close. We wouldn't went into overtime. But I mean, I feel like, and this is a quality win too, right? Because it's like you're playing essentially a playoff team.
It's the only quality win I can think of. Yeah, hopefully not a playoff team, right?
Well, right, and then I mean, next week you got to play another playoff team. So that would, if you win against the Steelers, I mean,
well,
you're showing.
Are they going to play their real team?
I mean, the Steelers are kind of showing who I thought they are right now, because like they don't really look that good. Russell Wilson's starting to look like his age again. You know what I mean? Like it feels like
but
the
I mean,
wheels are
even
starting to
so,
fall
are
off.
we going to get their? Are the Bengals going to get their best shot?
I can see where they may just rest some of their key players too.
Hmm.
The Steelers, because it's like essentially the Ravens have a lock to win the division because they already won this week against the Texans, and they got to beat the Browns next week. So it's like strategically, if you're the Steelers, if you have some key players that probably need a little bit of rest, you just rest them,
Hmm.
right? Because I feel like they'll probably treat it more like a preseason game, the Steelers, because
Yeah,
they
I
have
would
more
think
to
so.
lose than to actually win. Because even if
Yeah.
they win, then the Ravens still have to lose to the Browns,
Hmm.
and I would imagine the Ravens are most likely going to play their starters. Like they're going to secure, because for the Ravens they have more to lose. Like if they win, they guaranteed the division, right?
Okay.
The Browns, they have to win and hope the Ravens lose against the Browns.
Hmm.
So it's like, I mean, I just feel like hopefully the Browns get that moral victory tomorrow against the Ravens, or not against the Dolphins, which is
Oh
a
my
key
gosh, we need
match.
the Browns to beat the Dolphins.
I think they can. I think they can. And then
Yeah, if they
I
put
think,
in Jameis Winston, they can. But if
and
they
then
play
I think
DTR,
they'll
they're
just
not
kind of
gonna
pack it
win.
up against the
I feel
Ravens.
like they're tanking. I feel like the Browns.
Well,
are
I mean, they're
tanking.
kind of are, but I'm just saying.
I mean, nobody could ever convince me that DTR is as good as Jameis Winston.
No.
I mean, there's no argument for starting him over Jameis Winston.
Well, I mean, the only thing you can say is that there's no way that they can make the playoffs, and you kind of want to see if he's worth keeping as a backup type deal. Because I mean,
No, I disagree.
yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
like, why wouldn't you just keep Jameis Winston then? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean- We see what you're doing, Jimmy.
well, you never know. Like, it's
Yeah.
still, it's the NFL. It's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, back to my collusion or cheating thing.
Okay.
So, the motive behind all the flags and the refs trying to help the Bengals win is just TV viewership, right? Because if the Broncos win, then there is no intrigue whatsoever
Yeah, Week 18 is
left
a
in
dud.
AFC, right?
But yeah,
now
tomorrow's more
the-
exciting.
Tomorrow's more exciting. Next week is more exciting. So you've taken potentially 4 games that if the Broncos won wouldn't have mattered. Now they all matter.
Well, I feel like the Bengals did they announce they got to announce the schedule soon, but I assume that the Bengals are going to play Saturday again, right?
I don't know.
I assume the Bengals will get the late night Saturday game against the Steelers, and then I bet the Chiefs will get like the late afternoon Sunday game.
Yeah.
Because if everything goes according to plan, to collusion, right? Then I feel like the Dolphins and Colts will lose tomorrow. Like that's what's got to happen, right?
Or
at least one of them. I
Yeah.
think what they'll do is they'll at least let one of them lose, and then because then it'll make more games, and then one of those 2 teams that we talked about will play on Sunday, and then that Sunday slate of games will be.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because if the Bengals win on Saturday, it makes those games they are very important. But
right.
so
Right. Yeah. So you have one or two of the teams that need to lose, and then you have the Bengals play on Saturday, right? And then they win, and then
wait, who do the
like
Colts
that
play?
last then that Chiefs Broncos game really matters, right?
Hold on. Colts schedule. Oh, they play the Giants. I could see them losing against the Giants. The Colts? Yeah.
Joe Flacco versus Drew Lock, man. Where is the game? Is it in New York?
Yeah, it's in New York, and then.
Wow.
But the thing is that New York has a really good pass rush, and it's
No, I'm just saying. Like, can you imagine the amount of money, the amount of time of effort it takes to get to that stadium, in that big city, and then you get to watch Drew Lock versus Joe Flacco?
I don't know. I think to me the conspiracy would be, I guess you have the Colts beat the Giants but lose to the Jaguars in Week 18. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
But then you would have to have
I
the
like what you're
Dolphins lose
working with.
tomorrow. The
What's
Dolphins would lose tomorrow, though.
that? Okay. Yeah. Well, Tua may not play. So if
I
Tua's
think
not
he
playing,
will.
that
They
team
said
is
he
going
was
to play
doubtful, and
worse.
I bet a lot depended on this game. Say like the Bengals lost, I bet he wouldn't have played. But I have a weird feeling he probably will play because they said he was doubtful. He's got like some type of hip issue.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what they said. However, like if he is really that hurt, right,
Mm-hmm.
then he may not be that great mobility wise. So it might be even worse for him to play. But then again, I don't think his backup's that great.
Not compared to the backup.
Yeah, because
Tua can play.
yeah, when he's healthy, he's like, and he's got time to throw. It feels like he's an incredibly accurate quarterback. But I think the problem he has is that where like Burrow succeeds on like those plays where he extends it and plays on the go, and he can hit people on stride.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say, shout out to the Denver's defense. I think this is one of those games where he was a bit off of some of the passes. I do think again there's a lot of drops, a lot of I guess bad play by the receivers. But I mean, he still threw for 412 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then he did a gritty after he ran it in.
Yeah. Was that a good one or not?
I thought it was pretty decent. I feel like he must have been practicing it. I don't think
yeah,
he would have
sure he
done.
was practicing it.
Well, I mean, you can't look that decent without practicing it. I don't think it was like obviously not good as like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, but it looked good. It just didn't look as like as quick, if that makes sense. But it looked good.
Yeah.
Didn't look like Gesicki's. Gesicki's kind of weird looking, but
Yeah.
I like it because it's like the team's having fun with it. The crazy part is my kids or
They can do the gritty now?
no, my oldest daughters like I guess they do the gritty down here in school, and it's so funny because it's like I try to tell her, I was like, you know where that originated from, right?
Yeah. Your tax dollars at work.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just that's why some of those dances get so popular. So, like kids kind of gravitate.
It's not
to
part
it.
of the curriculum.
No, it just I don't know like why they were doing it or where they saw it, but yeah, it just is one of those things. And then I was just trying to explain like that was like something Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson started, or not really started, but they made it big because they knew like a rapper from their around LSU.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I was like it's kind of synonymous with Jefferson and Chase, but crazy times, right? Because this is basically playoff football from here on out, and hopefully one of those two teams can lose tomorrow. At least one of those two teams lose, I'll feel pretty good. If both of them lose, I'll feel really great.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the Chiefs will play their starters. I feel like they'll kind of treat it like a preseason game where they'll play the starters at least through the first half, and then hopefully they'll have like a comfortable lead. And then they'll like kind of rest people because like you don't want to rest them starting next week because I feel like that'd be way too much time off. Because they played on Wednesday, and then if they don't play next Sunday, I assume that's when they'll play. Or I guess they may force them to play Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
where is the game? Is it in Denver
it would
or
make more
Kansas
sense
City?
if they did it on Sunday because you would still keep Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a
Steelers.
Sunday game. Like if you have a Saturday game, you put Cincinnati on Saturday, and then the Chiefs game on
because
Sunday.
if Cincinnati wins, it makes all the other games more exciting. I guess the appeal will still be there, but
Well, no,
if they
because
want
if
the most
Cincinnati-
viewership,
if we lose, well, no, because it'll still be in the air for the other seeds, right?
well, yeah. But what I'm saying is, if say Cincinnati wins, then they're still in it, right? Then they'll be forced to watch the games on Sunday. But if they lose, or if we lose next week, right, then Sunday doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, but I think there's more intrigue if the NFL has both of those, the other two teams win this week. And then you got 4 games that matter next week.
I don't know.
I mean, that would be the most intrigue. The most
Yeah,
commercials
but
to sell.
I'm in the belief that the NFL wants certain teams to win it because I still think that, I'm convinced that they want Chiefs to get the three-peat. However,
Mm-hmm.
I think to make it more realistic, one of those two teams has got to lose. Because then, if you get the Bengals in, because I think if you get the Bengals in the playoffs, then viewership overall would make it way more exciting, especially with the way Burrow's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think Denver versus Bills is going to be more exciting than Bills versus Bengals, there's no way. Way more people would want to see Bengals versus Bills. It's not even close.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to rate that because the Broncos
And don't get me
are pretty
wrong, Bo
popular.
Nix, he looks pretty good for a rookie quarterback, but I mean, he doesn't, like for where he is right now, like that's what I'm saying, like him versus Joe Burrow against the Bills. I mean, most people want to see Burrow.
Yeah, if you put a Burrow versus Knicks, I think Burrow has a bigger following and would draw
For sure.
more
I mean, that's
eyeballs.
what it is.
But I feel like the
Well,
Bengals,
all the other
uniform
teams
versus the Broncos.
you
Uniform.
have Knicks, Burrow, Tua, and it'd be Richardson. Out of all those quarterbacks, who would be more exciting to go in the Bills in the first round? It's Burrow.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think
viewership
Tua
isn't
would actually
necessarily
kind of be the
driven by
second.
like who is like the best matchup. It's also driven by like the teams involved, right? Like the Broncos, I think, are a pretty popular team.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, if you look at market sizes, I'm sure they're bigger than the Bengals or Cincinnati.
Yeah, I
but-
mean not significantly bigger, but I just think the Broncos are like a bigger brand than the Bengals.
Yeah, but I think Burrow carries a lot of weight because, like,
Yeah, I agree.
Because
But I'm just saying, like in terms of viewership,
for a while,
in
though,
terms
yeah,
of
but
viewership, you
one
might
of
get
the
more.
highest rated games throughout the season, as far as viewership, was week 2, Burrow against Mahomes,
Yeah,
and I feel like Burrow against because just think about it, because like the Bengals make this incredible run at the end of the season, and they miraculously make the playoffs, and now he's playing the Bills. Like
hmm
whether they lose or win, like it's a win for the NFL because it's like that first round is epic now.
yeah. I mean, they could sell it. There's a lot of history between the two teams. So
That's what I'm saying. The history and then the way the Bengals played them last playoff when they went into the Bills.
yeah, I agree that it's a great matchup. I'm just saying that like I don't know that the viewership numbers necessarily would favor the Bengals over the Broncos because I don't think that people watching football necessarily.
Well, I think the
worry
Broncos
about-
have Sean Payton, but I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
the quarterbacks that really, especially with the way Burrow is playing this year. It's just,
Mhm. Yeah,
mean, you
no,
could
I
just
mean,
take-
you make a good argument. You make a good argument. You know, Our
Yep.
script writers should be paying attention to us.
well, I mean,
We
they
sell-
did a good
sell
job
some-
this year.
sell
I
some
mean,
tickets.
like, it feels like there's a realistic shot for them to make the playoffs, right? And the majority of the year, we did not have this feeling. So, I mean, the fact that we're at this point feels pretty good, and I feel like this is a quality win, and they still got another
it's
another
a-
quality win
The
next week.
Broncos are a good team. I'm still trying to think if there was a team that's better than the Broncos that the Bengals beat this year. It's just weird because it doesn't. It feels like no matter who the Bengals play, the game is always the same. You know,
It's
it
like
ends up being a
they-
shootout at the
yeah.
end, and like
because I mean,
you
there were,
know,
if you look at both the games with the Ravens, they were neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
Both the games against the Chargers, they're neck and neck.
mhm.
So it's like the last Steelers game, I felt like the Steelers felt like they had control most of the game, but
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch that game, so
yeah, I don't know. It was just weird because Russell Wilson looked way too good in that game. But like I said, I get a sense that they'll, if any team, I feel like Steelers might rest some of their key players, especially if they're have some type of injury that they've been kind of playing on. It would make sense that they would rest them next week because I feel like for them,
if someone's hurt, then for sure they should.
well, because I feel like the Ravens are basically a lock to win the division, and like, yeah, but we'll see. And at the same time, I would like to see the Steelers' best, but I feel like the Bengals still can beat them at their best. Be interesting to see what happens with Chase Brown. Hopefully he can come back, but I didn't mind what I saw with Herbert. I think he can fill in and do what he needs to do. And
Okay,
I
here's
mean-
a question for you: should the Bengals find a new kicker?
No.
Okay. I say yes.
No, I mean, if
Seen
you look
enough
around
from
the
Cade
league.
York.
Oh, you mean, yeah. I think
No,
I
yeah,
think you meant
yeah,
like
not for next year. McPherson's on the
just.
IR.
I got you. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, do you find a new kicker for this last week?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it would be wise to start looking, or they
I
could
mean,
just have a mindset where we're just not going to kick field goals. They might get to that point.
yeah, then why even have a kicker?
Well, because it feels like he's pretty decent on the kickoff. Like he can
I
actually.
guess.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think it would be a bad idea to start looking, but I just don't know what would be out there, especially at this time of the year. So, but to your point, I'm sure there's got to be something comparable, or at least
Well,
more
I mean,
consistent.
obviously, Cade York has a big leg, but
Yeah,
maybe that's not what they need. Maybe they need a guy who
as accurate.
is accurate, and
Yeah.
maybe you just tell Burrow, hey, you need to get it inside the 30 before we
Yeah,
can kick a
yeah.
field
We
goal.
just need someone that's extremely accurate within the 30, and then for sure.
And then it's just like, you can't kick 50-yard field goals, so it's like, okay, but at least you have a shot at some field goals, right?
And I guess speaking of this, and again, it goes back to the game management. That's why I just wish they would have kicked a field goal on that first drive. Well, but then again, the guy missed, so if he would have missed, I would have felt even worse. But
I don't have a problem with them going for it. I only have a problem with them
running it
fundamentally-
twice.
No, not even running it twice. I just get pissed off that they can't do it. It's because they spent all year, like, they just hate running it. Zach Taylor treats running the football like eating broccoli. It's just like, you gotta be a little bit more creative, a little bit more dynamic on like how you run the ball up the middle.
There's 24 total. I mean, Chase Brown had 20 carries, so that's a pretty good amount.
I'm talking about like short yardage, power running. Like, they're all like smoke and mirrors when it comes to running the ball, or everything's to the outside. It's just like they need to be able to get 2 yards on 3rd and 2 by just saying, hey, defense, we're running it and winning.
I'm looking at the box score. I didn't realize Bo Nix had 3 touchdowns, but that last one was just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really good catch on the receiver.
Hey, my other pet project, don't play the ball. The receiver's in the air. Just let him catch it, 2 hands, shove him out of bounds. He would not have landed in bounds if Geno Stone, instead of jumping, would have stayed on the ground, looked up as soon as he touched the ball, just shoved him as hard as he could out of bounds.
I would love to see like a NFL drill where you just throw like a crash dummy in the air.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Just
Just
practice
throw a
on,
dummy
like,
in the air. The defense is like, ah!
yeah, right. That
That would be
probably cause
amazing.
well, yeah, it would be, but I feel like that would cause a lot of injury. Well, I guess if you just did a big, I feel like you could potentially
do it with
break
like
your
a
wrist.
real life player.
No, I think you would have to do a bag, and then, but I mean, you would just have to get used to pushing that weight and pushing that momentum. Getting used to that.
It's no different than tackling. I mean, you shove
Yeah,
dudes out of
but-
bounds all the time.
But the thing is that if you're practicing it, right, and you're having people
Yeah.
doing it repetitive, I'm just saying, like, you're increasing the risk of like breaking your wrist, or like, because think about it, if you're running full speed and someone just say like 200 pounds.
You don't have to push somebody that hard to get them to go 3 feet to the right when they're in the air.
Yeah, but you don't play where like you're just there, right? You're running because you're catching up to wherever the spot is, right? Wherever the ball is
Yeah.
being thrown to.
I
So what I'm saying
understand.
is, in most circumstances, you're
Can't
going to
you
be
just do it with
running.
your shoulder? I mean, they tackle full speed all the time. It's literally the same thing as tackling.
Yeah, I guess I'm with you. I would like to see it, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna start a receiver camp or a corner camp. Just
like it was just a
fat boy
crazy
out there
catch.
telling everybody, no, don't tackle, don't try to go for the ball.
Was it
just push it out of
Mims
bounds."
that caught it? Who caught it? Yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible catch because I mean,
It was a good catch.
Hilton
but at the
was
same
just inches
time,
away of actually pulling
at
that
the same
out.
time, if those guys would have just pushed him to the right, there's no way he would have got 2 feet in bounds.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
I mean, he almost landed out of bounds as it was.
almost. I mean, they
Yeah.
did get him to move the ball. It was just there was still enough time for him to kind of regain control
Exactly.
before he slid out.
Exactly. You push him out of bounds, doesn't matter what he does. Lands out of bounds.
But also, if you actually rip his hand off the ball, he most likely the ball sputters out of bounds. So it's
I'm
like,
just saying it's easier to just push him.
no, I think it's easier to rip the hands out.
I disagree.
Because
I feel like I could push somebody out of bounds easily, but I feel like I could not be quick enough to get at the ball.
it's just because you're talking about trying to maneuver a whole body and pushing a momentum, because they're running full speed right down the field and they're jumping down.
Yeah, so just don't jump.
Okay, so but you can't, but you can't though.
So you don't even have to shove them.
Because
just
like
catch 'em.
the corner is running with the receiver, right? So there's no way they cannot like not jump. If they don't jump, then the receiver easily catches it. Because then
No,
they
because
just stop.
he had to jump because the ball was high.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you're saying like in your head,
Yes.
you would just not jump,
Right.
and you would just push him out, right?
Yeah.
But that's not realistic because they're running to that spot. So you have to jump in some sort of fashion. Like there's no
You
way.
don't- There's.
So you want someone to
just-
run their full speed and just stop on a dime and then push someone out? Like I just don't think it works like that.
Slow down and then shove him. Yeah.
But if you slow down, then he's gonna catch and fall down in bounds. Is what
He
I'm
can't
saying.
fall down. He's jumping.
But that's the thing. If no one's there,
Literally, the soon as the receiver jumps, he has no control over how long it takes for him to land. Because how hard he pushed off the ground determines how long he's going to be in the air. He's going to be in the air for a little bit.
I don't know.
Dang.
Well, I don't know. Maybe write a letter to the Bengals and Mike Brown will see it.
No,
And
we need to monetize this. Let's start our own camp. We'll be the Breaker Bros cornerback camp.
that would be interesting. Okay.
They'd show up. They'd be like, "Wait a minute. Is this a line camp? Is this for linemen? No. This is for corners."
All right. But is there anything you want to add to this game or?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, it's exciting. Can't believe it came down to the wire like it did. It really did.
Mm-hmm.
How much time was left? Maybe like 50 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, I want to say something like that.
Because like the Bengals had to score, so I mean, and they went into overtime. So it's like if they tie or outright lose, then playoff hopes are over with. But yeah, glad they closed out the way they did. I think that was a statement. Crazy game. But yeah, I guess we'll be back next week. Hopefully, I guess I'm not sure if they announced the times for the games yet, but did they?
We'll have to figure it out. I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy because I didn't check.
Actually, here, let me just check it real quick, because it looks like I see the Colts says 5th. Yeah, Bengals are on the 5th too, which is Sunday. I guess what you could do, I guess the Chiefs would kind of have to play on Saturday. Hold on. No, it says 5th. Maybe all the teams just play on Sunday. I don't know. All right.
Okay. Well, the Bengals should put the Bengals in the early window and then Chiefs in the 4 p.m. Right?
Yeah, I guess we'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Peace.